This video was brought to you by Skillshare. In a precarious and unprecedented moment for American politics, congressional Democrats and President Joe Biden have been battling it out for who should be the Democratic nominee, a mere month before delegates are due to meet in Chicago to formally nominate their candidate. However, after a few days of infighting, it looks like the anti-Biden coup has failed. So in this video, we're going to take a look at what's happened over the past few days, and whether Democratic infighting has just made a second Trump term inevitable. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. To shortly recap how we got here, on June 27th, the world watched as former President Donald Trump and President Joe Biden held the earliest presidential debate in recent memory. Instead of policy though, voters and the media were more focused on Biden's worrying performance, characterized by confused looks, mumbled words, and disjointed sentences. In the immediate aftermath, the media started to turn on Biden. Left-leaning commentators and even the New York Times editorial board came out against Biden seeking another term. A media firestorm soon grew into a congressional alarm, as many on the Hill started to wonder if Biden could finish out this campaign. 5 days after the debate, Representative Lloyd Doggett, a Democrat from Texas, became the first elected Democrat to call on President Biden to bow out of the 2024 election. Publicly, 9 representatives have called for the president to pass the torch, while reports suggest that at least 4 more have done so privately. Now, the Senate is even more secretive about their views on the president, but at least 9 senators, mostly in marginal seats, have expressed concerns about Biden's electoral viability. For a few days, it appeared that this onslaught of congressional criticism could actually destroy Biden. In an effort to stop elected Democrats from coming out against him, President Biden sat down with ABC News on July 5th to show that he could take questions in an unscripted setting. This also failed to inspire confidence and even drew more criticism. Much of the incoming fire came from President Biden's remark about how he would feel if he lost to Donald Trump, with Biden responding, "As long as I gave it my all and I did the good as a job as I know I can do, that's what this is about." Additionally, this interview did show a more defiant Biden than many are used to. When confronted with his low approval numbers and falling poll ratings, Biden outright rejected their existence and stated that the race was a toss-up and that internal polling suggested that his approval rating was higher, which didn't sit well with many Democrats. With congressional dissent mounting, over the next few days, Biden was hit with even more bad post-debate polling, suggesting that he was well behind Trump in basically every swing state. As of writing, the Cook Political Report has shifted the toss-up states of Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada to lean Republican. If those states do go for Trump, then he would only need to flip one other state, such as Pennsylvania, to win the election. And flipping Pennsylvania isn't a remote possibility for Trump, with Morning Consult Bloomberg polls post-debate showing Trump between 3 to 7 points ahead in the state. A new trend is clear then, and Trump has opened up quite a few paths to winning in 2024. He's also done so in historic fashion, with Trump now polling up 3 points in the national popular vote, marking the first time that a Republican has had a lead at this point in the race since 2000. Compare that to Joe Biden's 9-point lead at this point in the 2020 race, and things start to look very dark for the president's chances of winning. Multiple House Democrats have now expressed concerns that Biden would drag congressional Dems down with him, possibly paving the way for a Republican trifecta, where Republicans win the House, the Senate, and the White House. Congressional Democrats then met again on Tuesday to discuss options, this time with the whole caucus in attendance. The mood at the meeting was described by some lawmakers as funeral, but reading between the lines of public statements so far, it looks like there weren't enough anti-Biden Dems to force him out, and Biden now looks overwhelmingly likely to be the candidate in November. Biden was apparently helped by leaders in the Congressional Black Caucus and key members of the Progressive Caucus, such as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who threw their support behind Biden ahead of the meeting.
In a sense, this is sort of the worst case scenario. Biden's polling is already pretty bad, but voters are only going to be less likely to vote for someone who's clearly not even popular in his own party. And more despondent Democrats now worry that a Trump victory in November is pretty much inevitable. However, there's an argument that Democrats are panicking more than they need to. History suggests that Trump's poll lead isn't insurmountable. This time in 2004, John Kerry was ahead of George W. Bush by a similar margin, and Hillary Clinton had an even larger lead over Donald Trump at this point in July 2016. And as I'm sure I don't need to tell you, both Bush and Trump ended up winning these elections. Democrats have also overperformed in special elections across America, most recently in New York's 3rd District, where the Democrats outperformed the polls by 4 points and won the race. Joe Biden is also the incumbent president in the election, and incumbents often outperform their polls. Take a look at the 2022 midterms, for example. In Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin, 5 of the 6 states generally accepted to decide the 2024 election. In Nevada, Senator Cortez Masto outperformed her polls by 3.5 points to win her race. While in Michigan, Governor Whitmer outperformed hers by 7.3 points, Governor Tony Evers in Wisconsin outperformed his by 4, Senator Kelly in Arizona outperformed his by 3.5, and Senator Warnock of Georgia outperformed his by 2.15 points. All were incumbents, all were Democrats, all had their opponents picked by Trump, and all won their elections in a year when the Republicans were supposed to clean up. Now, Michigan was an outlier by how much it underestimated Democrat support, due to the abortion initiative that was on the ballot, which boosted Democratic turnout. And that's significant, because this fall, Arizona and Nevada are expected to have abortion initiatives on their ballots as well, a big boon for Biden. On top of that, in the Pennsylvania Senate election, the Pennsylvania governor's race, and the Arizona governor's race, Democrats overperformed their polling without the incumbency advantage. Economic indicators are also looking better for Biden, and polling suggests that Americans are finally giving the Democrats credit for the strength of the American economy. Ultimately, things do look bleak for the Democrats right now, both with Biden not stepping aside and Trump expanding his lead. But there's still lots of time to go, and if the last few years have taught us anything, it's that predicting political events months ahead of time is pretty futile.
Running a profitable online news brand that gives away free content is a little tricky. So recently we launched an online store where you can purchase copies of our magazine, Too Long. The thing is, setting up an e-commerce business is also pretty tricky. But fortunately, when it comes to websites and e-commerce, Skillshare is there to help, with me taking their very useful course, Shopify Essentials for Web Developers, when setting up the store. That's because Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives, with thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and more. That means that Skillshare can help take your career, skills, hobbies, passions, or side hustles to the next level. There's hundreds of career-focused classes. That's courses from how to start a business to maximizing your workflow or digital marketing. The best news is that the first 500 people to use our link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial to Skillshare. So get started today.